Mr. Speaker, today is Armistice Day, the day we remember the deaths of soldiers and civilians sacrificed on the altar of war and greed. And today, as we consider this bill, we also remember the deaths of soldiers and civilians sacrificed on the altar of ignorance, drunkenness, profit, greed, and governments of both persuasions' ongoing unwillingness to put an end to the destruction visited upon all of our communities by alcohol in all its pernicious and evil forms. And today, as we consider this bill, Mr. Speaker, we also remember the families who bear the scars of lives lost to cirrhosis of the liver, cancer, depression, alcoholism, and heart disease, and those families suffering the lasting effects of drunk driving and alcohol-related falls, drownings, poisoning, assault, injury, and fetal alcohol syndrome. And as we think of that, Mr. Speaker, let us also remember that back in 1769, before alcohol even got here, botanist James Banks noted that for Māori, water is the universal drink and that Māori showed great repugnance for liquor, a comment backed up by a 1999 Health Research Council study which said that prior to contact with Pākehā, Māori lived in one of the few parts of the world that had never developed alcohol beverages. The Inuit of Canada, people of Micronesia and a number of Native American tribes share with Māori the attribution of being indigenous peoples who did not develop alcoholic drinks. And yet, Mr. Speaker, for all of that, the problem of alcoholism within Māori society had gotten so bad that even before the signing of the Treaty of Waitangi, European captains were moved to lodge formal complaints against Tāmati Wakanene and other chiefs boarding their ships, even before they had berthed in the Hokianga, to find and destroy the barrels of liquor that were being brought into Taitokerau. It's a sad commentary, Mr. Speaker, on our liquor laws in Aotearoa today that even as that historical evidence was being given at the Ngāpuhi hearings in Pangaru a few weeks ago, Sonny Tau, chairman of Ngāpuhi, was condemning the opening of yet another liquor store in Kaikohe in 2010. Sad too that not long after the treaty was signed, a petition was presented to Parliament by Haumona Te Aotearangi in 1874, which said that liquor impoverishes us. Our children are not born healthy because parents drink to excess and the child suffers. It muddles men's brains and they, in ignorance, sign important documents and get into trouble thereby. Grog also turns the intelligent men of the Māori race into fools. Grog is the cause of various diseases which afflict us. And so today, we have this bill to repeal, to replace, and to amend a whole bunch of laws, but to what end? Mr. Speaker, Māori continue to drink and die in the same horrific and unacceptable numbers in 2010 as they were in 1810. Greater likelihood of harmful effects from alcohol than for non-Māori, twice the rate of severe alcohol-related problems, and 4 times the rate of alcohol-related deaths. And yet, governments of both persuasion continue to tinker around with a framework dedicated to achieving bugger all, while Māori continue to suffer and die at appalling rates, and politicians prattle on about people needing to have a more mature attitude to alcohol, and introduce bills like this one with licensing exemptions, parental consent requirements, regulation provisions, clauses about local authority policy and the like, and an absolute cast iron guarantee that very little change will come about as a result of this bill going through the House. I hope Māori will make submissions on this bill that recognise the history of non-alcoholism and the impact of colonisation and the continuing destruction brought about by alcohol. I say I hope they will, but I won't be surprised if they don't. Because Māori have tried the direct action, we've done the petition buzz, we've marched, we've huckered, we've submitted, we've done the lahui, and for what? So we can do it all again while we watch the statistics shuffle around and our communities continue to suffer? We need a better focus, we need a new strategy, we need another angle. And the only angle that might work is the one that Tariana's put before this House of whānau ora. Because unless we can change the thinking of whānau, we won't change the environment in which alcoholism runs rampant. And unless we can do that, we'll be going nowhere fast. Mr. Speaker, we need to support whānau-focused alcohol and drug addiction programs and recovery and restoration services, and we need to take a collective approach to build on the strengths of whānau to reduce alcohol-related harm. So we'll support this bill, but we do so reluctantly because we know that tinkering around with legislation won't fix the problem. Only courage will do that, and I suspect there's too many people in this House whose courage will only last until they're offered their next drink. Kia ora tātou.